Going on, everybody? Welcome back to Trend or Trap, presented by TrendsCenter. I'm Dan Karpuc, and we are doing a special MLB Season Preview edition of the show with MLB opening day right around the corner. We are diving into 4 team-specific betting trends directly from the TrendsCenter app that have been incredibly profitable over the years, and helping me break them all down is professional handicapper Matt Horner. Matt, are you ready to do this?
Let's get into it.
All right, we are going to look at the trends, talk about some projected lineups, rotation, bullpens, team outlooks, and decide whether they're trends to back or traps to fade heading into the season. So let's get into trend number 1. It is the Astros bouncing back versus the Angels. So get this. Over the last 21 years, when the Houston Astros have faced the Los Angeles Angels after a loss with a money line under plus 170, they've gone 67-17. That's 79.76% for almost 50 units of 40.27% ROI. So historically, this has been a massive bounce back spot for Houston. Now, looking at this Astros lineup, they're going to be without Jeremy Pena. Of course, he suffered that finger injury during the WBC, but this is a very strong offense still. They got Altuve, Isaac Paredes, Yordan Alvarez, Carlos Correa, Yainer Diaz, Christian Walker batting 6, Cam Smith, Zach Cole, Jake Myers. The bottom third isn't that great, but those top 6 are pretty good. In the rotation, Hunter Brown, Tatsuya Imai, who's a newcomer, Christian Javier, Mike Burrows, Lance McCullers, Spencer Arrighetti. They're going to probably go to that 6-man rotation early, and they got some guys in their farm system that could come up and help as well. And at the back end of their bullpen, one of the best in the MLB here, Josh Hader, Brian Abreu, and Steven Okert. Now, on the other side, and we were talking about this before, the Angels continue to just basically waste Mike Trout's career. Their lineup, once again, it's going to look pretty abysmal. Zach Neto, Nolan Shanuel, Mike Trout batting 3rd, Yoan Moncada batting 4th, Joe Adell's back. He's going to strike out 30% of the time, probably once again. Josh Lowe, newcomer, batting 6th most likely. Jorge Soler, or whatever's left of his power, is going to probably be at the bottom half. Logan O'Hoppe, Christian Moore to round it out. In the rotation, similar to last season, is not going to be good. Yusei Kikuchi, Jose Soriano, Reed Detmers, Grayson Rodriguez, newcomer, Alek Manoah, newcomer as well. They didn't pitch last year, those last 2, due to injuries. And Detmers is most likely pitching out of relief quite a bit this season as well, I would assume, since he did that last year. This bullpen projects to be one of the worst in baseball. So when I look at this matchup between these 2 clubs, I think Houston's clearly better top to bottom. The bullpen advantage is going to be massive. The lineup depth is better. And frankly, the Angels have just been wasting Trout's career, and I think they're going to continue to do so this season. I'm going to hammer this trend again if the Astros are coming off a loss and as a short favorite against the Angels. So Matt, what do you think? Is this trend still legit heading into 2026?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue against it, just looking at the 2 teams, right? I mean, you literally just laid it all out pretty much. The Astros are just a significantly better team than the Angels. The Angels, like you said, are just wasting away Mike Trout with a bunch of garbage just sitting around him. There's just cans everywhere. They're awful. Funny enough, they're playing a team that's related to cans in the Houston Astros. But last year, I mean, you look at this trend overall, the Astros were 8-5 head-to-head against the Angels, but if you just took this trend specifically, the Astros ML versus Angels, after a loss, they were 6-1 last year for this trend. And then, again, you look at the rotation upgrades, Tatsuya Imai, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, incredible in Japan, 1.92 ERA, 0.89 whip, incredible. And then Mike Burrows, Mike Burrows is a solid pitcher, 3.94 ERA last year, 1.24 whip. It just enhances that rotation. And then the Angels did nothing to really say any difference between being terrible. So yeah, it's hard for me not to back this trend.
Yeah, when you got Yoan Moncada still batting, in the middle of the lineup, Joe Adell still haven't shipped him off. Pretty wild times there, unfortunately. Let's go to the second trend here, which is basically saying fade the Nationals at home in series openers. So over the last 11 seasons, fading the Nationals at home in the first game of a regular season series When the money line is between plus 220 and minus 170, he has gone 151 and 103. That's a 60% clip, roughly. For plus 80.45 units, that's a 28.16% ROI. Here's what the Nationals roster, or lineup, I should say, looks like heading into this upcoming season. We got CJ Abrams, Dylan Cruz, James Wood. Those top three look pretty similar to last year. Then you got Dalen Lyle, Luis Garcia Jr., Kybert Ruiz, Brady House, Nasim Nunez, Jacob Young. Ouch, ouch, ouch. In other words, the rotation, this might be the worst rotation in baseball. Cade Cavalli, Zach Littell, Foster Griffin, Miles Mikolas, and Jake Irvin. That's going to be a disaster. Their bullpen might be worse than the Rockies. This might be a worse pitching staff, the worst pitching staff in baseball. So for me, this is another trend that I'm going to probably continue to tail throughout the year if I could get good prices on it. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, it's similar to the last one. Like, I mean, the Nationals are a terrible baseball team, right? I mean, they're just awful. 32 and 49 in home games last year. As you said, their pitching rotation, it's indescribable. I mean, it's just so bad. It's just so bad. Mackenzie Gore is gone. He was literally their ace. He was pretty much one of the only guys on that pitching staff that I'd be like, decently want to back. Their rotation is just awful. Zach Littell, I mean, 3.81 ERA last year, but his xERA up into the mid 4.5s. Not good. I mean, he's due for regression. And Miles Mikolas, I mean, they're just bad. They're bad. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to say this trend continues.
And while these divisional games aren't as much of there's not as much an emphasis on these divisional games anymore just because the schedule's spread out. But you have to look at the other teams that they're going to be playing in this division in terms of who this pitching staff is going to have to go up against when they face Philadelphia, when they face the Mets, who I think have a really good offense, when they face the Braves, the top half of that Braves lineup, they're going to struggle badly. And, it's probably a great opportunity to get in on those first 5 money lines as well, if you could get some good numbers on those too. I absolutely love it, as well as those opposing team overs as well, if you could get some good numbers on those too. So trend number 3, speaking of the Braves, over the last 2 seasons, the under is 62, 31, and 3. That's 66.7%. So the unders hit 2/3 of the time when the Braves have been favored at home against NL opponents. So that's pretty surprising, but then you think about it a little bit further and you say, okay, Ronald Acuna missed a lot of time throughout those first 2 seasons. He's kind of the linchpin of this offense. When you look at this lineup this season, Acuna, Albies, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, if I asked you to give me a better top 4 than that, you might have a hard time unless you're looking at the Dodgers, right? So I think that top 4 of that lineup is really good. Drake Baldwin at catcher, breakout season last year. He's probably, he profiles as a 300 type hitter at the catcher position. They added Jonah Heim. Is Michael Harris going to regress back, have some positive regression based on his disastrous last season? They added Mike Yastrzemski to platoon with Eli White in the outfield. And Mauricio Dubon is going to be at shortstop. But this rotation, Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, will those guys stay healthy? That's a big question mark. Ronaldo Lopez, will he regress negatively after he had some awesome, I don't know what happened with him, but he looked like, yeah, exactly. Not to rub not to rub salt in the wound there. But then Grant Holmes, Bryce Elder, they got some guys in that rotation at the end, those last 2 guys especially. I questioned that rotation a little bit. Lopez is returning from shoulder surgery. Spencer Schwellenbach is going to be on the IL to start the season as well. I'm a huge fan of the top half of this Braves lineup, especially if Acuna is healthy. But I do have some very big questions here about pitching, and specifically pitching depth, which is not something this this Braves team has had to deal with over the last decade, really. So I think because of that, I'm not sure we're going to see this level of the under profitability continue. So if I'm going to pick a trap out of these 4 trends, I think this is going to be the one. I think this lineup could absolutely explode offensively like it did in 2023. And if you're a psycho like me and check weather before I bet under or overs, you have to think this is Atlanta, get some little hot weather going on. I kind of like the weather aspect of things too. So I'm going to lean trap on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's close. This one for me is the one, like you said, it'd be the closest one to where I'd want to fade it a bit. You look last year, 58% of games went under at home at Truist Park. Historically, Truist Park is kind of a middle-of-the-road type of park. It's not too heavy towards hitters. It's not too heavy towards pitchers. It's like right in the middle. So 58% last year to the unders. You could see some regression coming back towards 50%, which means more over games. And if you're betting on this, it's betting on the offense getting back to the way they were post last year. I mean, or previous to last year. Last year they were underwhelming, but previous to that, I mean, this was a really explosive offense with some fantastic players. I do like the additions of guys like Robert Suarez. Fantastic, unbelievable, 40 saves, 2.97 ERA last year. They re-signed Iglesias, 29 saves, 3.21 ERA. So some great bullpen additions there, but on offense, they didn't really add anybody. I mean, like I said, you're betting on these already star players to kind of bounce back from last year. Mike Yastrzemski, 233 average hitter, 735 OPS. I mean, he's not going to really bring tons of pop or anything like that, but this would be the one that's kind of on the fence on. I'll still back it here just because I kind of believe maybe in the pitching staff slightly more than you do. But it is very variable. So if you're somebody who's going to pass on one, it would probably be this one.
Yep, makes complete sense to me. Finally here, and this is one that really shocked me when I've been cycling through the TrendsCenter app trying to find some interesting trends here ahead of the baseball season, and this is one that I found about Reds home day game under. So over the last 3 seasons, the under is 55, 32, and 3, so 63.2% when the Reds play home day games with totals above 8.5. So you see these games getting priced up, oftentimes, when it's hot and, when it's hot and the wind is blowing out or something like that, sometimes these totals rival Coors Field. We've seen double-digit totals here quite a bit over the last couple seasons, especially when some pop has been in this lineup and in opposing lineups here. But Great American Ballpark, when you look at home runs and how the ball flies out of here, second best home run park to righties, second best to lefties, yet the under has been profitable here. When you look at the lineup of the Reds going into this season, what really stood out here, and this kind of stood out to me a couple years ago when the Blue Jays didn't have much variability in terms of handedness. They're almost identical to me here, interestingly, for the Reds, where TJ Friedl leading off is the really only true left-handed hitter. He's going to be followed by Matt McClain, Ellie De La Cruz, who's a switch hitter, of course, Eugenio Suarez, who they just added. He hit almost 50 home runs last season, Spencer Steer, Sal Stewart, Tyler Stevenson, Noelvi Marte, Ke'Bryan Hayes. So interestingly here, I fear that they're going to stack power right-handed pitching against this lineup, and unless they start pinch hitting and stuff like that, they're going to have platoon disadvantages pretty much all over this lineup, unfortunately, for them. Now, of course, this is a ballpark where you can hit home runs as a right-handed hitter, yes, but I fear that these opposing teams are really going to key in on that. There's also major strikeout concerns. Eugenio Suarez is a major power hitter, but his average is low, and when you have a guy like Ellie De La Cruz is going to strike out a lot, these strikeouts can start piling up, and that's a very easy way to kind of squash any offense from happening. On the mound, Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, Nick Lodolo, Brady Singer, Rhett Loader. I'm pretty high on this pitching staff, especially when you consider Chase Burns is probably going to be called up, maybe to start the season, but most likely after the first couple of months. You know, I kind of think that the under here, once again, makes a lot of sense. Emilio Pagan coming out of the bullpen. So when these totals get inflated in Cincinnati day games, when it's 9, when it's 9.5, even 10 in the double digits, I think this trend still has some value. So what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I mean, I think the books really play into Great American Ballpark because it's just like Coors Field. Everybody knows that this field is a hitter's park historically, that home runs are going to be flying, balls are going to be flying out of the park all the time. So the over and under total is going to be elevated just because it's the Great American Ballpark. You look at last year, I mean, you had 26 overs, 48 unders, and 7 pushes last year at the Great American Ballpark because the books love that because everybody bets the over because it's the Great American Ballpark, but the under cashes quite frequently because it's just inflated. I mean, yeah, Eugenio Suarez is a great power hitter. Obviously, he can put up some runs just off one swing of the bat. 49 homers last year, 118 RBI. Clearly a guy who can knock it out of the park. But at the same time, I do like some of the bullpen upgrades that the Reds had as well. You look at Brock Burke, 3.36 ERA, 1.23 whip. You got Caleb Ferguson as well, a solid pitcher, 3.58 ERA, 1.16 whip last year. And just overall, you know, I just think the market is just going to overprice these overs. So I think the unders will be valuable once again.
I'm right there with you. Did we disagree at all? I don't think we did. That's
maybe the Braves.
This is supposed to be a debate show.
I think the Braves.
Yeah,
the Braves were the
maybe
one.
With the Braves. Maybe with the Braves. So we'll have to see which one of us is correct on the Braves and hope that we are all aligned properly on the others here heading into the season. We'll probably be back with another episode, that time looking at systems rather than trends. We have quite a few over on the TrendsCenter app, and these are for team-specific MLB trends that we loved. If you want to find thousands of profitable betting systems just like these, make sure to check out the TrendsCenter app, where you can already see or create your own MLB trends and systems ahead of the 2026 season. Matt, appreciate you coming on as always, and we will see everyone next time on Trend or Trap.